Now, some of you are probably wondering, hey Fiction, why do you like anime? And my answer to that is simple. It's because of the incredibly fine, bodacious, succulent, super hot waifus with the perfectly round, bouncy, and delicious badonkadonk. It's because of the incredible range of entertaining, sometimes experimental stories, wide range of exciting genres, compelling, often well-written narratives, depictions of traditional, uplifting heroism, and superb 2D animation, the latter of which has since become a dead art in Western society. So, in honor of the shows I've come to love and appreciate over the years, I've decided to put together another top 10 video, this time featuring the anime with my favorite attack sequences. Rules for this are simple. This list will be comprised solely of animated sequences, meaning everything from series to movies are on the table for consideration. While manga scenes aren't going to be included, any that are relevant will be addressed as the list progresses. The attacks featured also don't necessarily have to be finishing moves or successful ones either, but sequences that I feel stand out as scenes for their excellent production quality and entertainment value. Also, because everything I'm putting on this list comes with a highly recommended hashtag from me, I'm also putting on a heavy spoiler alert hashtag. Are we ready? Because here we go. Number 10, Aqua's derpy face Konosuba all of Axel's guild versus the Mobile Destroyer Fortress. Konosuba is a legendarily good isekai fantasy and one of the best comedies I've ever come across in recent years. Basically, the story follows the journey of a Japanese boy named Kazuma who gets reincarnated in a fantasy world of swords and sorcery by a goddess named Aqua, who he ends up dragging along with him against her will, and forms an adventurer party with two other misfits in that world, the Paladin Darkness and the Sorceress Megumin. The catch here is, every single one of them, Kazuma and Aqua included, are some of the worst, most socially awkward human beings you could ever come across, ranging from shameless masochists to hilariously dumb and incompetent. Yet somehow, these guys end up becoming somewhat successful as adventurers. The anime is absolutely hilarious, with an art style and direction that is completely perfect for its tone. However, one of the more satisfyingly dramatic and intense sequences in the show takes place when the Mobile Destroyer Fortress, a super dangerous weaponized walking castle responsible for destroying many civilizations in its path and was foreshadowed in earlier episodes through job posters and the guild notice board, is discovered to be approaching the city of Axel, the home of our heroes and countless other adventurers. In order to stop the mechanized death machine, Kazuma and co, with only 4 brain cells between them, come up with a plan to take out its shields and immobilize it. This leads to one of the best attack sequences in the anime, reminiscent of the finest shonen, where Aqua unleashes her strongest blast against the fort from on top of the city gates. Not only does the force of her beam manage to stop the spider in its tracks with Konosuba's score kicking up in the background and everyone watching her, the best part comes when she opens up the taps. This is one of only 2 sequences to make it on this list for sheer comedy and epic goodness, topped by the fact that Darkness is just aura farming the entire time. The sequence that takes place after that is also pretty good. Number 9, Ghislaine's legendary feint, Mushoku Tensei Ghislaine Training Ares. Mushoku Tensei gets a lot of short-sighted criticism from a lot of judgmental, prude crowds in multiple parts of the West and those who can't stomach certain media. I personally love this show and think it's an excellent anime that depicts the story of an incredibly flawed, emotionally and mentally scarred, broken man trying to forge a new life for himself in a world beyond our own. Not only is the anime incredibly accurate to the novelization, but the animation and direction poured into realizing every part of this narrative on screen is some of the best I've ever seen, with incredibly poignant payoffs, solid comedy, and great action set pieces. The best sequence, I believe, isn't even from a life or death battle. No, it's from a training match our hero Rudius witnesses between fellow trainee Ares and the master swordswoman Ghislaine. This attack sequence has full permission to live rent-free in my head for life for one moment in particular. This incredibly jaw-dropping, jiggly yet clean feint from Ghislaine. Glorious. This perfectly encapsulates what fantasy should be: entertaining, visually satisfying, and unrealistic. Number 8, a blank Girls and Panzer the film Maho and Miho vs. Alice. The entire concept behind Girls and Panzer is ridiculous and absurd, and I love it. Basically, the entire premise of the show is set in an alternate Earth where schools are confined to ship cities built on top of aircraft carriers. In the most prestigious of these institutes, the school offers a sports elective where the girls at the school can drive around in World War II tanks and participate in official competitions where the opposing teams battle each other to win, but nobody dies somehow. The best part behind the story, in my opinion, is that each school we see mirrors a nation that participated directly in that war, where they not only drive that nation's tanks, but the student body also perfectly and tastefully reflects the stereotypes of that nation. From the British, to the Americans, to the Germans, to the French, to the Australians.
Okay, boss. You got any bright ideas? Yep. Alright, Pharaoh. Alright, cunts, listen up. Boss says the Japs are going to be dumb cunts and come charging at us like emus on meth.
Hey guys, they're here already. Oh fuck, they're coming right at us.
Right, let's hurry up and kill these fuckwits. You girls want to pull into the servo on the way back, by the way?
Oh fuck yeah.
To the Finnish, to the Italians, who I love, and the Japanese. To cut a long story short, the Girls in Panzer movie has all the former enemy schools teaming up to take on the university team, a team that is supposed to reflect the newly formed United Nations at the end of the war, to save another school from closing down. The boss in that final sequence is a young tank-driving prodigy named Alice, who is taking on the hero Miho in her Panzer IV Ausf G and her older sister Maho in the Tiger I, with Alice herself using a Mark I Centurion. For a final battle in a movie, I have to say, Alice is an absolute fucking monster, cutting donuts on a dime and performing drifting techniques in her Centurion like it's nobody's business, with the sounds it lets out being just complete nightmare fuel. She's honestly very scary, but that's not the part that earns a spot on this list. It's the absolutely insane kill shot Miho makes on her that clinches her to victory. I mean, look at this shit. Now that's what I call a fatality. Number 7. Armored Lariat! Skeleton Knights in Another World, Ark vs. Pleb. Keeping in theme with unbelievable fantasy, I really enjoy Ark's adventures in this world. While Skeleton Knights isn't in my top 10 best fantasy anime, mostly for a fact I feel like the entire plot would have been far better served as a straight fantasy adaptation as opposed to an isekai, it does feature one of my favorite sequences of all time. When Ariana, the elf heroine of the story, attempts to rescue her kidnapped kin in episode 3 from a group of slave traders, she suddenly finds herself at the mercy of their blades when one of the girls is used as a meat shield. Fortunately, before the slave traders are able to capture her and examine her top-tier goods, our hero Ark comes to her rescue and lays out the leader with one of the most savage, goated moves I've ever seen done to a pleb. Side note, this sequence is done best in English. It's so good. Number 6, one intense job interview, Ghost in the Shell's second gig, Motoko vs. Saito. For those who haven't seen Ghost in the Shell's first and second original series from the early 2000s in both English and Japanese dubs, go watch them. The anime is fire, and after a long rewatch, more reflective of what people in the early 2000s envisioned the future as opposed to what the future is like now. The show has many standalone episodes and one overarching big plot. One of my favorite, and arguably everyone's favorite episodes, is titled Poker Face, where we follow the recount of the team's top sniper Saito over a game of 5 card, reliving how he was recruited by the Major. The episode is super intense, and the final showdown in the hospital between Makoto and Saito leads to one of the finest exchanges of calls and bluffs in combat you'll ever see, which then leads to this.
Get there first.
Saito did such a great job in this battle that Makoto not only spared his life, but recruited him with one of the best lines ever read in the English dub.
You're good with that rifle, you son of a bitch. From now on, you're mine.
Number 5, Zoltrak Spam, Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Qual vs. Frieren and Fern. The best fantasy anime I've ever seen in a long time, and one of the few adaptations I would say is leagues better than what is illustrated in the source material. Watching both Frieren and Fern fight is always entertaining, since the two of them use only the most basic of combat spells in various different ways and combinations. But out of all the peak battles dotted across this series, nothing compares to the brief showdown between them and the Elder Sage of Corruption, Qual, the demon who not only beat Frieren in the past, but also created the standard attack spell now used by all human mages across the continent. To gush on Qual for a moment, this guy's character design is fantastic, making him look like a gigantic, horrifying beast that could crush you with his size, but is in fact a highly intelligent, incredibly skilled master sorcerer. Despite having been sealed away for 80 years, Quoll not only immediately figures out how Frieren and Fryn's defensive magic works, but he effortlessly reconfigures his Zoltrak on the spot to begin overwhelming their defenses, which he immediately mixes in with a gargantuan Zoltrak blast. Amazing, and the sequence finishes perfectly with Frieren clapping back at him with his signature move.
Oh, the elf can fly. How fun.
Zoltrak.
Number 4, Jetto Gatlinga! One Piece, Luffy vs. Lucci. I think we can all agree that the entire Enies Lobby arc is peak One Piece, no question. Luffy and his crew mounting a full-scale invasion on the world government's judicial island to rescue both Robin and Frankie is one of the greatest moments in anime history, with each Straw Hat member facing off against each of the CP9 assassins, amounting to some of the best battles in the show. The best easily comes from Luffy's one-on-one with Lucci, the strongest of the CP9 agents. The fight leading up to this moment was excellent, but the build-up and eventual payoff to this attack sequence was jaw-dropping. When Lucci thinks he's dropped Luffy for good, our boy holds his ground like an absolute Chad. Both of these guys are on their last legs, and Lucci is fuming at the seams, thinking, how the fuck are you still standing? It then leads to this, where Luffy unleashes an onslaught of punches so fast it looks like they're hitting Lucci all at once. The way this is animated is good enough, but what makes it is the soft soundtrack carried by the sound effects of multiple impacts, Lucci's groans, and capped off by Luffy's bestial roar. The flashes added to this sequence also really elevates it. Number 3, Cloud Parting Ninjutsu, Naruto Shippuden the Movie 3, Wheel of Fire, Naruto vs. Hiroko. Naruto has a lot of peak moments spread out across the show, but while everyone else likes to wank off Itachi, Madara, and Sasuke, which I think is boring, the best of the series comes from whenever Naruto locks in. To preface this, I'm going to start by saying while the first 3 Naruto movies were good, the Shippuden era movies were dog shit, with each film finding a new way to beat down Naruto. Yes, I get it, he's a ninja who makes a living taking a beating, but for God's sakes, dial it back and let my boy be cool for longer than a minute. The third Shippuden movie, despite suffering the same issues, benefits from not only having an exciting plot, but a superb villain leading the heroes along and an excellent payoff. Hiroko is a straight-up monster in this movie, and a compelling character in his own right. A ninja with no talent at all who used science and alchemy to steal multiple Kekkei Genkai to become a perfect ninja. Sure, it's very Orochimaru-inspired, but the film does imply it was his experimentations that inspired Orochimaru down his path. But we're not here to talk about that, we're here for this scene. The final battle between him, Naruto, and Kakashi is a top-tier action set piece, where we get to see our boy Naruto facing off against an enemy without the Nine-Tails help for once. None of Naruto and Kakashi's jutsu are working on Hiroko, since the guy can straight up absorb everything they throw at him and toss it right back. Then, just when they're on their last legs, this happens. Naruto drops from the sky with a massive wind shuriken spinning above his head, the best on-screen representation of one of my favorite jutsu in this series. And Hiroko can't absorb it due to how complex the creation is. The dude panics, and as he's screaming in defiance with superb sound effects and music in the background, Naruto hits him. And it is one of the most glorious hits ever landed. Number 2, Takamura snaps. Hajime no Ippo new challenger, Takamura vs. Brian Hawk. It is now a requirement that everyone should have watched or at least read Hajime no Ippo. You can't call yourself a true anime fan unless you've done either. Everything in this anime is top tier. The inspiring journey of the main hero, the soundtrack, the training montages, the voice acting perfectly capturing the personality of each boxer featured throughout, and the fight sequences. Not only is it an excellent action show, but it's also the best sports anime ever rendered on screen, despite the substantial drop in quality in the third season. There are a bunch of fights and sequences that could have easily made it on this list, but for me, the best sequence is during the match between Takamura and Brian Hawk, one of the hardest and most savage fights in anime history. I'm going to call this sequence Jake Paul Gets Destroyed, the anime, because if you ever wanted to see that absolute hack get laid out on screen in cartoon form, look no further than this moment. When Takamura is gassing out and is about to be taken down by Hawk, our man snaps and lays into his opponent with the cleanest, most vicious onslaught I have ever witnessed. Brian Hawk gets absolutely destroyed by this, and it is glorious. Before I get into my number one pick, here are my 4 honorable mentions. First, Prince Ashitaka returns a throw from Princess Mononoke. Second, Maple going literal beast mode and curb stomping Order of the Holy Sword, tied with Maple eating everything to solve her problems. And third, anytime Sun Jinwoo is doing shit in aura farming the anime. The best fight is Jinwoo and his shadows versus Kargalgan and his army, by the way. And fourth and final pick is Quetzalcoatl's Divine Thigh Powerbomb from Fate Grand Order, because holy shit.
あ、これ死ぬ。あれは痛いです。当分経っちゃ来ないわね。
And now, for my number one pick, Gohan's one-handed Kamehameha, aka the father and son Kamehameha, Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan 2 Gohan vs Super Perfect Cell. I will never stop criticizing Dragon Ball Z for the direction they took Gohan in the Buu saga after this moment. The amount of development Gohan had across the entire series to this point being squandered because Akira Toriyama didn't know how to properly develop or logically follow through with his character post-facto. But rather than bemoan what could have and should have been, since I'm already rewriting the entire series from the Cell Saga onwards in 2 separate timelines in manga form, I'd rather talk about the best attack sequence in anime history. The final beam struggle between Gohan and Cell in the anime has not been matched by anything else this series has ever done, with the possible exceptions being Goku and Vegeta's beam struggle and Goku pushing back Kid Buu with the Spirit Bomb. While all of these final attack sequences are amazing across all dubs, the best one was this moment in the original Funimation run. While the manga shows Gohan instantly annihilating Cell without any fight or tension, I mean Gohan just straight up destroys Cell with only a little push, in this adaptation Gohan is pressed quite hard by the android, but then, just when it looks like Cell is about to finish him off, we hear it, the piano. Then, with one last shout of encouragement from his father, Gohan opens up the taps and annihilates Cell. But unlike in the manga, where Cell has one last coherent bit of dialogue in his head, we hear him blurt out one last distorted scream of defiance. And on top of all that, we see our boy Gohan walking towards Cell. Walking towards the motherfucker. A scene not in the manga. This is just straight up anime filler. The best, mind you. While blasting him with a one-handed Kamehameha in the most aura-farming moment in the entire anime. Nothing in Dragon Ball Z can top this moment, and this will forever be at the top of my list, not just as the best attack sequence in anime, but the best final attack, final battle, best Kamehameha, and most aura-farming moment of all time. Thank you all for watching this video to the end, and hopefully you enjoyed my commentary. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on X and Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.